Hey there. My name's Kevin Old. Hey there. My name's Kevin Oldham. I'm a certified exit planning advisor and chief value accelerator and founder at DeFactory. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today. Today's conversation is going to take about 20 minutes, and I guarantee you're going to leave here with something that's going to make your company more valuable. Okay. And I don't say that lightly, but when I saw some of these statistics, when I saw some of this information, it really changed how I thought about business. And furthermore, it took a 3-decade career as a marketer and caused me to change directions and start focusing on not just increasing revenue, but increasing value. So we're going to talk about why exit planning is not about the exit. We're going to share with you just some really, really good stuff and make sure that your time is well spent. So I'm going to have 3 things that I would love for you to leave with today. If you learn these 3 things, or even if you learn just one of these, I'm going to consider our time well spent, and you probably will as well. I'm going to show you where 80% of the business value is trapped right now, things that don't show up on your P&L. I'm going to show you how you can unlock it and prove it to others and get paid for it. And then three paradigm shifts that are kind of required when you start going down this path. But first, who am I? Why am I qualified to talk about this stuff? I'm Kevin Oldham. I've got a 3-decade career. I've been an entrepreneur off and on over the past 15 years. Most recently, in the past decade, has been spent running DeFactory. We spent our first decade as a marketing focused advisory. And I got sick of creating problems for people, to be honest with you. We would come in and we would increase revenue, but a lot of times it would create our operations or just cause other issues in the business. And every time I tried to bring up those conversations with our owners, they didn't want to have it because they hired a marketer, right? So I decided to go back to school and got my certified exit planning advisor designation through the Exit Planning Institute. I've been involved in mergers and acquisitions for probably the past 15 years of my life. I'm trying to think if, as part of a merger, but as an employee, and lost my job in my 20s, but that doesn't really count as doing the work. Probably the coolest transaction I was part of was helped raise $30 million in recapitalization of a global franchise company that I was co-founder of and chief marketing officer. I love solving problems. I have a huge heart and I'm pretty competitive, but mostly against myself. So I'm a competitive black belt in martial arts. I am a skater. You're going to see that skateboarding is part of my DNA and why that's important. I take an ice bath every Sunday. And most importantly, I do all these so I can be a great dad and a great husband. So, Mom's Skateboard Shop. My mom was an entrepreneur. I didn't really think of her that way, but that's what she was. I don't even know if we used that word in the 80s when she decided to solve one problem. And that problem was overpriced skateboards in Topeka, Kansas. So in the 1980s, Tony Hawk was coming up. Now he's, one of the most legendary, probably most well-known skateboarders on the planet. Back then, he had just signed his contract with Powell Peralta Skateboards. And this is the skateboard right here. I actually have it about 15 feet away from me. These are boards 1 and 2 that my mom bought for Square One Inc. skateboards. And the problem that she solved was there was one place in town that sold them and they were overpriced. So my mom was what we would call a bootstrapper now, lean methodology. She rented a space in a flea market, month or week to week rent. And for 5 years, she became the skateboard queen of Topeka, Kansas. Now, what's interesting is my dad got a new job and my mom was not the primary breadwinner. And so my dad got a job in Kansas City in 1989 and we relocated. And I was 15 years old at that point in time. And the skate shop just went away. The boards, the inventory went to somebody else. The brand went away. It just dissolved, the corporate records all just got dissolved and went away. And it left an impression on me, but I didn't really know what it was until I became an entrepreneur myself. This is me on the right, up in the air this past summer in 2024. I still skate. I'm almost 50 years old. You'll see that skateboarding methodology, if you've ever watched it, there's a lot of wrecking, there's a lot of iteration. But at the end of the day, you're trying to get better. And a lot of times you're doing it with other people. And so it's a lot of the grit that I have. It's a lot of the determination that I have that I bring to the professional world. But moreover, you would think that I would have learned some lessons from my mom, and that actually didn't happen. So 38 years later, I had an untransferable business. You can see the timestamp on this was January 31st of 2023. What had happened was in this company, DeFactory, we had an acquisition offer. And as we're going through the process, I got this email. And this is from the company that was thinking about partnering with us, which was Kevin. Honestly, the more I look at the deal, the more it seems like it's going to be a difficult one to do. Oh, that's like a Dear John letter. It's so bad to hear that. And what he liked were like three line items, one of which was me, one of which was my brand. I mean, and the other things what he didn't like was a lot, right? And so this deal didn't happen. I actually got sick that night. I was sick for 2 days. I think it was just depression or whatever. I started painting a vision of what my life was going to be like afterwards. And reality is I got deflated. And this is where I started turning my thought process around helping people solve this problem, because I see businesses close all the time in my community for nothing. In some cases, not only just for nothing, they still have debt associated with the asset. And maybe they're taking a job and going somewhere else so that they can actually wind down that entity, but they've closed their bakery or their whatever it is. And I realized I had an unsellable asset. And for me, it was safe to fail. I didn't need the money for this transaction. I wasn't retiring. But I think about all these people that get to the finish line of life and think that they have a sellable business. And the reality is 80% of businesses are not transferable. So, what is exit planning? Well, first and foremost, exit is not about the exit. It is a business activity. It's a way of conducting business. It's a way of operating your business. It's not like EO Entrepreneur's Operating System or any of these other things, but it is a framework that you use to improve your business and make it so it's more transferable when the time comes. And not if, when the time comes. I don't know about you, but 100% of entrepreneurs that I know in the history of humanity have left their business, sometimes on their terms, sometimes on other terms. And we're going to talk about some of those things. But I do like sharing statistics and data, and the data is pretty compelling. So it involves asking questions now around your business, around your personal life. Like, what do you want life to look like, when you leave your business, and then your finances as well. And it does require a paradigm shift for you as a business owner. There are thousands of us out here that are running the same methodology and speaking the same language, and we're trying to help business owners understand this paradigm shift. And I'm going to introduce it to you here shortly. Actually, I'm going to introduce it to you right now. So first and foremost, it is holistic planning. We're going to see a slide here right after this where, my goal as a certified exit planning advisor, or a CEPA, is to help you balance three legs of the stool. Because the moment that we start looking at entrepreneur's business on an island, the moment that we're already shortchanging the process and selling ourselves short, we have to look at the overall picture of you as a human being. Your business is probably your most valuable asset. It's important, but we got to look at what your personal life's afterwards, what looks like afterwards. So we got to look at what your financial life looks like afterwards. The worst thing in the world that could happen is you could go to an ATM right after you close. Let's just say have $20 million in the bank. You got more zeros in there than you had the day before, and you have zero plan. You have no purpose. You have no plan. You don't know what you're going to do with your resources. That's a really bad idea. And I'm going to show you some statistics that show you how it's proven that it's a bad idea. It's a now strategy. I talked about this. And then there's a common framework. I'm going to introduce you to the value acceleration methodology. This is something that CEPAs are exclusively used and used to help entrepreneurs and are trained to do. And it is a team sport that helps us create value in your company. So these are the three legs of the stool. What do they mean? My role in the process is I'm in Kansas City. So, Kansas City Chiefs, we got Patrick Mahomes. I always say I'm Mahomes. My goal is I'm the quarterback. I got to make sure the team on offense is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I've got to balance everything. And so the balancing aspect is making sure that your business needs are taken care of throughout this process, but as well as your personal and your family's financial needs. And all three of these are equally important. It's a team sport where if you have a wealth advisor, they're going to be helping us with the financial part, and I speak their language. I've got colleagues that can help us with purpose and things like that in advance of a transaction. Like now, like my happiest times in life have been the past 2.5 years when I figured out my purpose was to be the filament in the lives of the people I touch, to be the light. Once I figured this out and I started waking up every day, life's been so much cooler. And I want that for you, whether you're thinking about exiting or not. So we'll help you get your arms around that and making sure that all three of these things are tended to. Okay. The paradigm shift is it needs to be something that's intentional. A lot of times we wake up and we go in to quote unquote work. We start working in our companies, and a lot of times we are reactive and the things that the business throws at us. And I'm going to push you to be proactive and be deliberate. And they're going to be things that we're working on today. And I'm going to show you how they're increasing the value of your business today. I've invested a ton of money in software application, best in class software that has a scorecard that shows you your valuation and it shows it going up and up and up. And so that kind of helps people stay the course and gets them excited around things like, I don't know, building a standard operating procedure or installing a customer relationship management platform or whatever we determine needs to be done to prove, protect, and transfer value when the time comes. So it's a present activity. And then the common framework. So we're going to go through this later on, but this is a snapshot of the value acceleration methodology. Every SEPA globally is following the same framework. It allows us to be on the same page and make sure that you're taken care of when it comes time to into your most valuable asset. So the statistics, these are the things that were eye-opening to me. These are the things that when I share them on social media, people reach out to me because they don't necessarily understand what they mean. And you're going to get inside seat as to what they mean. 80% of businesses don't sell that are put on the market. This is sad. Imagine if 80, so I have a background in real estate. Imagine if 80% of houses on realtor.com didn't sell. You'd fire a real estate agent, right? Like if you list your house, and like, yeah, there's 80, only 2 out of every 10 houses sell. Good luck. Well, that's what's happening in the business world. And I have my own perspective on why that's happening. But the reality is, you can change that. You can be part of the 20%. But if you just go put your business on the market one day without any preparation, it's kind of the equivalent of listing a piece of property, not cleaning it up, staging it, taking good pictures and all that stuff. You're going to get less value if anybody buys it. Not a lot of people want to buy a property as is, okay? And to get the highest price, you got to position it correctly. And doing the same with your business just makes sense. It's just people don't think about it until it's too late, okay? And then 75% of business owners profoundly regret selling their business within 365 days of selling. The money doesn't make you happy. I have a family member who I have seen go through this process. I have friends who I have seen go through this process. And then once they didn't necessarily have an ironclad plan, that thing happened where they just went to the bank one day and they had more money. And I think that we all think that money is going to make us feel a certain way. But there becomes a point, and this is, I would like to discover this myself, and I want to help you discover it. Like, I want you to have more zeros when you close than you thought about, and just see how it feels, right? But money will not make you happy long term. There's a reason why, about a year later, you've taken all the trips, you bought all the toys, and you're like, wow, what's next? If you didn't have a plan for life afterwards, you didn't have a sense of purpose, you didn't know what was next, that's where the 75% are really, really regretful. Okay. I want you to be part of the 25% that are happy, and furthermore, the 20% of the companies that sell. And we need a bullseye to make that happen, and that's what value acceleration methodology is all about. This is the sad stuff, more sad stuff, and this is going to be all the bad news, then we're going to get back to good stuff. 50% of exits are caused due to one of the 5 Ds. These are the things that used to keep me up at night and still to a certain degree do as an entrepreneur. I have 5 companies, and premature death, which is just a roulette game. We don't know when we're going to, we could get heaven forbid, I hope nobody listening to this ever has something like that happen, but it does happen. Or sickness. These things happen. When you're an entrepreneur and you have responsibilities like a family, you owe it to your family to not leave them a steaming bag of garbage if you prematurely exit this world, or you get hurt, or you have a partnership disagreement, or something happens, divorce, right? All of these things can happen and nobody is insulated from them. And frankly, we don't know if and when any of these things are going to happen. So if you care about your family, at least take these concepts seriously. You don't have to call to action right now, but kind of like when people say you should have a trust or a will. I think everybody knows that they should have these things. Have your affairs in order. I'm asking you to get your business in order, or at least think about it and maybe put it on the calendar for next year. whatever. Maybe the time's not right, but start thinking about these things. Because I will tell you, as soon as I started building, and I'm not completely replaceable in my company, we're a small company, right? But as soon as we started building processes and intellectual property and all of these things, I started sleeping better at night, and I monitor my sleep. I monitor it and I can see it quantifiably. Healthier sleep leads to a better life, by the way, longer. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of value acceleration, what's it look like? There's going to be 5 stages of value maturity. 4 intangible capitals. This is where the value is hidden and trapped in your business, and we're going to help you unlock it and be able to transfer that. You got 3 gaps that we need to address along 2 concurrent paths and 1 goal. And this is going to be what we wrap up with. So the 5 stages of value maturity, I always like to say this is kind of like the Hippocratic Oath. A doctor won't just walk in and start surgery, start cutting on you and conducting surgery. They're going to identify things. They're then going to protect, do no harm. They're going to figure out how to mitigate risk. Then they're going to conduct surgery. Then you're going to be successful in rehab. Well, I kind of think of value maturity similar. We're going to identify where value is. We're going to protect it. We're going to make sure that when we start flipping levers in the business, we don't torpedo what's got us here. Like that's number one thing is we don't want to go backwards. We'll go forward. Then we start building stuff. Then we get to a point where it's transferable and we can harvest. We can transfer that asset to somebody else, harvest all those years of hard work and not be part of that 20% that just shuts down or the 80% that just shuts down. And then you got to manage your resources. You got to figure out what to do. Hopefully you've reached the goals you wanted. You've got the affluence and whatever. And, this is where we start talking about purpose and things that are perceived as touchy-feely, but the statistics tell us that they're not. So if you're a believer in data, like I am, let's just be proactive and know that these things are going to happen and know that there's tons of people that have come before us that have experienced these things and just take their word for it. That data came from our 2023 owner readiness report. So we go back and we survey through the Exit Planning Institute, people that have sold their businesses. A lot of them are unhappy. The 4 intangible capitals. This is really cool. So this is where a lot of the value is in your business that's not showing up on your P&L. So if you've had a low ball offer or something, or you've done back of the envelope valuations and you're like, man, my company's not worth more. There's a reason on my personal website that says your business is worth more than you think. I can guarantee it's worth more than you think. Same thing has happened to me. When we were going through a valuation exercise in our company, I wasn't excited about where the math was, but I was excited around some of the change. And I didn't realize that my brand of a decade old and the reputation we have is an intangible capital that wasn't showing up that I could have used to negotiate a higher transaction price, right? I didn't know this stuff yet, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. Structural capital. Why do you guys show up? Your mission, your purpose, all of these things, the business, SOPs, all those things. Customer capital. Not only do we have the customers, can we prove we have the relationship with them? Are those relationships transferable? If all those contacts are in a old school written notebook or whatever, that's going to be very challenging for a buyer to get their arms around. They're not going to value it as much. If we've got it in a CRM solution and we show that the people are engaged and your mailing list is working and all these things, you're going to make more money. And when you start getting higher value, when you start like moving up, you can not only get more money through somebody wanting to pay more for it, you can also get more in your terms of your multiple, like the factors. They're going to assign a factor when they actually start valuing your business, because a best in class business has a higher multiple than a business that's just kind of chugging along. They can be the same businesses revenue wise and get you a higher multiple when we can paint that picture that things are dialed in. You've got all these processes on this, because the buyer's going to be able to just step in and do things without less struggle. They're going to pay more for that. Okay. Social capital. So this is, what do people say about you? How are you showing up? Your brand, like all those things. And then human capital are the people that show up on a daily basis. And more importantly, the people that show up that aren't you. So have you created a job for yourself? And if so, that's okay. We can figure out how to make that so it's not a thing. It's just not, it's a process versus an event. Or can you take your finger out of a glass of water and everything's cool? There's a little bit of a ripple, but things go back to normal. And that finger in the water is you. You've extracted yourself from the business. It's a more valuable asset. All those things increase your value. 3 legs of stool, we talked about that. 2 concurrent paths. So as I'm walking you through the business process and I'm your quarterback, like helping coordinate everything as a value acceleration expert, I am not a personal wealth advisor. I hire somebody like that on my team as well. Like that's just a completely different skill set. I'm not your life coach. I'm not going to help you figure out what to do with your life afterwards. It's a team sport, but I'm going to make sure that as a SEPA that we're going down two concurrent paths because they're important. What's happening at home matters. What's happening at business matters. We are in a world where it is all blended together, at least with the people I want to help. I'm not looking to help, Fortune 500 companies. That's not it. Lower middle market, small businesses. It matters. It's all intertwined. I've been living it for the past decade, and I can tell you my wife matters in our company. Our financials matter for my family, and they're not just these two things that operate on islands. There's a blend. One goal. My goal is to help you increase the value of your most cherished asset, your blood, sweat, and tears. Because I feel very strongly that every entrepreneur should make money while they're running their business, but then also create something that can be sold to somebody else. I hate seeing businesses close down. It crushes me. And you can kind of see that I've got some personal, lifelong lessons that have made me the way I am. The last thing, the value acceleration methodology. This is our framework. Don't take my word for this stuff, guys. Take tens of thousands of transactions that have been walked through this process. I've got a 3-gate framework. Discover gate, number 1, we're talking about what's important to you and we're building a plan. Prepare, this is where we're doing a lot of the work, we're executing. And then every 90 days, it could be a text, it could be a quick conversation, but we're going to have a conversation. It could be something you do inside your head. And you say, hey, do I want to keep doing increasing the value? Or do I want to start looking at what it looks like to transfer this to somebody else? Pretty simple. But it's deliberate, and the accountability and the deliberateness of it makes it so that it is real and it's tangible. So there you go. I'm Kevin Oldham. I'm a certified exit planning advisor. I love, love, love when I see the light bulbs come on. I want to help you build a legendary business because a legendary business is something that can be transferred to somebody else. A legendary business is going to get that higher multiple and allow you to be rewarded for your life's work. And a legendary business, more importantly, and all that stuff, is a hell of a lot of fun to run right now. So if you want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't know where you're watching this. My plan is for this video to be all over the internet. But if you're on YouTube, down below, I do have a free quiz that you can take through my partner Capitalize. So it actually goes to me. It's not my website, but it does come to me that will help you determine where the gaps are in your business. It's completely free. Sure, I'm probably going to reach out to you and say, hey, did you get the report? Because I actually have to send it to you. So you will hear from me again, but it is a phenomenal work product. I'm going to say if everybody had this, they'd at least know what things they should be working on and not just come in and do random acts of business every day. I appreciate your time. Have a phenomenal day and be well.